As she walked, Ahsoka took note of her new surroundings. Though the architecture was monotonous and mostly prefabricated, there was enough decorative embellishment that she knew the people who lived in the houses cared about them. They weren't transient workers. They were on Rada to stay. Moreover, judging by the variation in style, Ahsoka could tell that the people who lived on Rada had come from all over the Outer Rim. That made the moon an even better place for her to hide, because her Togruta features would be unremarkable. After a few blocks, Ahsoka found herself in a neighborhood with smaller houses that had been cobbled together with no sense of aesthetic. This suited her, and she set to looking for one that was uninhabited. The first one she found had no roof. The second was right next to a cantina, quiet enough in the middle of the day, but presumably loud and obnoxious at night. The third, a couple of streets over from the cantina, and right on the edge of the town, looked promising. Ahsoka stood in front of it, weighing her options. "There's no one in it," said someone behind her. Ahsoka's hands tightened on lightsaber hilts that were no longer there as she turned. It was a girl about Ahsoka's age, but with more lines around her eyes. Ahsoka had spent her life on starships or in the Jedi Temple for the most part. This girl looked like she worked outside all the time, and had weathered skin to show for it. Her eyes were sharp, but not vicious. She was lighter than Master Windu, but darker than Rex. And she had more hair than both of them combined. Not that that was difficult. Braided into brown lines neatly out of her way and secured behind her head. "Why is it abandoned?" Ahsoka asked. "Cietra got married, moved out," was the reply. "There's nothing wrong with it, if you're looking for a place." "Do I have to buy it?" Ahsoka asked. She had some credits, but preferred to save them as long as she possibly could. "Cietra didn't," said the girl. "I don't see why you should." "Well then, I suppose it suits me," Ahsoka said. She paused, not entirely sure what came next. She didn't want to volunteer a lot of personal information, but she had a decent story prepared if anyone asked. "I'm Caden," said the girl. "Caden Larte. Are you here for the harvest? That's why most people come here, but we're almost done. I'd be out there myself. Except I lost an argument with one of the threshers yesterday." "No," said Ahsoka. "I'm not much of a farmer. I'm just looking for a quiet place to set up shop." Caden shot her a piercing look, and Ahsoka realized she was going to have to be more clear, or she'd stick out in spite of herself. She sighed. "I repair droids and other mechanicals," she said. She wasn't as good as Anakin had been, but she was good enough. Away from the temple and the war, Ahsoka had discovered that the galaxy was full of people who were merely good at things, not prodigious. It was taking her a while to readjust her way of thinking. "We can always use that," Caden said. "Is that all your stuff?" "Yes," Ahsoka said shortly, hoping to discourage further questions. It worked because Caden took half a step back and looked embarrassed. "I'll let a few people know you're setting up when they get in from the fields tonight," she said before the pause grew uncomfortably long. "They'll be along tomorrow with work for you. In a few days it'll be like you've never lived anywhere else." "I doubt that," Ahsoka said, too low for Caden to hear. She cleared her throat and spoke louder. "That'll be fine." "Welcome to Rada." Caden's tone was sardonic, a forced smile on her face. But Ahsoka smiled back anyway. "Thanks," she said. Caden walked back up the street, favoring her left leg as she went. The limp was not pronounced, but Ahsoka could tell that the injury was painful. That meant medical treatment on Rada was either expensive or unavailable. She shook her head and ducked through the door of her new house. Welcome! This week I'll be reviewing something out of this world. Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston here on the Bored Goddess Book Reviews. Welcome once more, my force-wielding friends, to my humble library, where this week I am pleased to review a science fiction fantasy that any Star Wars fan should love. Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston. Please remember that by liking and subscribing to my channel, You are helping me carry on uncovering unique stories and keep creating video book reviews for your enjoyment and entertainment. While you're at it, please feel free to toss a comment or two my way below with thoughts on the books I review, as well as things you'd be interested in seeing added to the videos or my reviews. Or you can just say hi. And before another moment goes by, thanks to each of you who have become a part of my little gatherings. You make each video worthwhile. For any newbies to my channel, allow me to present to you the one, the only, Mad Max, who rocks the ratings charts. This little bundle of fluff is not just your average bird brain. He's got a whole squad of feathered friends who are absolute geniuses in their own right. And this diminutive yet remarkable group work their tail feathers off to gather the most precise and reliable data you can imagine. They whip up ratings that are so flawless, it was like they were crafted by the gods of accuracy themselves. And I'll share those incredible ratings with you at the end of this review. All right, Max, you set for another exciting literary expedition? Then let's explore this exciting new world. This week's humble offering is truly impressive. Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston. For fans of the Star Wars franchise, I have a real treat for you. I must confess, I haven't delved into the vast world of Star Wars literature, but boy have I been missing out. Before I go any further, I should note this book is intended for mature audiences, specifically older teens and adults, due to scenes of violence. These passages are very important to the story, and incredibly well written by the author. But I did want to make sure I mentioned this, in case there are readers who are sensitive to this kind of topic. It has been a year since the establishment of the Empire. In the core systems, the prevailing perception was one of propaganda and unification. However, for those residing on the periphery, it was characterized by exploitation and control. And for individuals formally identified as Jedi, it signified a death sentence. Ahsoka, once a Padawan of the Jedi Order, long having turned her back on the temple, now tries to find some deserted corner of the universe beyond the notice of the Empire. While she might have run away from her past with the Jedi, the Force has not turned its back on her. What she feels, however, isn't the warmth of companions far removed, but an empty hole where they had once been, haunted by her memories. She struggles to survive on dusty worlds and forgotten farming moons. But while she might fear to reach out to others, they apparently have no problem reaching out to her. With these connections made, can she walk away from her new friends in need? This beautifully written story was submitted on my website by one of my viewers. So, as promised, a huge high five to you, Jedi Master. Thank you for submitting this fantastic read. I need to take this opportunity to explain that this book's purpose is to confidently bridge the substantial gap between the TV shows, The Clone Wars, where these events unfold, and Rebels, which boldly picks up the thrilling narrative over a decade later. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the backstory of this awesome book, let me summarize. A bombing occurred at the Jedi Temple, and Ahsoka was falsely accused of being responsible for it. Despite her innocence, only her master, Anakin Skywalker, stood by her and believed in her. Even Yoda failed to support her. Although the truth eventually came out and apologies were made, Ahsoka felt alienated and no longer felt like she belonged among the Jedi. It is here that our book takes up the story. Right from the start, the story burst into action, and I do love a good adrenaline rush. But what really impressed me about this author is that she didn't just throw action at me left and right. Instead, she skillfully weaved in moments of suspense, tranquility, deep thoughts, and pure excitement, creating a perfect harmony that had me hooked from beginning to end. It was also a delight to be smoothly immersed in the story's context, letting it gracefully unfold before my eyes. rather than being bombarded right from the start, which I find to be much too prevalent within the sci-fi fantasy genre. This is an extremely well-written book. I mean that not just in terms of the technical aspects of the story, but also in terms of the characters and the world. Although the world was already well developed, the author masterfully expanded it with new elements I hadn't been aware of, yet they fit seamlessly and didn't feel out of place. The story had a wonderful level of depth due to the dialogue between the characters, the relationships built, and the way things weren't always as they appeared. This made it even more exciting for me to read, and I fell in love with the characters, especially Ahsoka. Although, at times I wanted to shake some sense into her. The narrative itself was awesome. In the Star Wars movies, you only catch a glimpse of the Empire, the Rebels, or the events that led to the war. You don't really get to see the lives of ordinary people. Books like this provide a better understanding of why the Empire is evil, or how the Rebels thrived and fought back. There really isn't much I didn't love about this book, and the few aspects that didn't quite resonate with me are mostly due to my personal preferences, which are heavily influenced by my love of Star Wars. The main issue I had was the presence of absolutes, particularly the concepts of absolute good and absolute evil. I find it difficult to believe in such extreme notions, even within the realm of fiction. Additionally, I struggle with the convenient coincidences that always seem to aid the main characters in their victories, commonly referred to as the protagonist halo. While these factors didn't ruin my enjoyment of the story, they did slightly diminish it. However, it is important to note this is simply my personal opinion and bias. Alright, Max, it's time to rate this book. Are you ready? Max, my man, you are absolutely right. Max and I totally agree. This book is undeniably extraordinary and earned our highest rating, 5 ducks. I have linked to the Amazon affiliate page for this book below. Please check out the author's other incredible stories as well. Have you read Ahsoka? I'd love to discuss it with you in the comments, or in my Discord, also linked below. I'm also on Instagram, Goodreads, Facebook, and X. The links are down there. Would you like to be part of the Goddessverse? Join in by sending me a coffee. The link is listed below. Every little bit helps me keep making my weekly videos, and I'll send a shout out to you here in one of my reviews. And remember to share your affinity to our little world and encourage others to join us. So guys, that's it for now. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Adios till next Wednesday. May the Force be with you. May your day be epic, and may awesomeness follow you like a puppy needing hugs. Bye all. And this diminutive of charming, delicate, that's me. Additionally, I struggle with the queen, the queenian, or my disco.